Yes, we start on the Daily Monitor this morning in Uganda. The big story that says URA on the spot over 340 billion shillings gold tax roll. Of course, it says the revelations come amid comments by President Museveni that the tax collector has corrupt elements who must be checked to stop the loss of revenue to the country. It's pretty much, the same thing, with issues here in Nigeria. Where people always would argue that there's a lot of loopholes and there's a lot of leakages that need to be blocked, so government stops losing revenue that should go to the government coffers. Also, varsity boss wants talks over fees. PLE results, the hits, misses, and what next? And of course, take note of these bone cancer signs. There's an article there on bone cancer. You can find it on page 5 or page 3, I beg your pardon, of the Daily Monitor. Still on Daily Monitor this morning, a man who sued woman for refusing to marry speaks out. That's on page 3 also of the Daily Monitor.
I want to see that story. Before the show comes to an end, I'm going to look through that story and we can banter on it.
Understanding ADHD symptoms in children. That's on page 16 of the Daily Monitor this morning. These are the stories that we can share from Uganda.
All right, let's head over to the Namibian in Southern Africa. The big story this morning says tents. Food needed as second flood wave hits. You can see the picture of the flood here. Residents of Okaweyu village in the Oshikango constituency brave the flood waters on their way home. That's the photograph of the flood there. Government blesses MPs with free iPhones. That headline is very interesting. Government blesses MPs
with free iPhones.
With free iPhones. What a blessing. Oh. Please do bless me with free iPhone this morning. And still on the front page of the Namibian, we have at the top of the paper, education, careers and vocational trade opportunities. AFDB wants Africa's food production doubled. Jury for Miss World Namibia. And the final story this morning says, suicide victims coffin brought to ShopRite. Amushelelo to appear in Wolvie's court bay today. Now, we took the story last week on the front page of the headlines. We can see that there are a group of protesters on Friday that gathered around the vehicle containing Fabiola Zonjembo's coffin. This was a woman who unfortunately committed suicide in Namibia. We, of course, would be looking into the details of this story maybe before the week runs out and bring you up to speed on what's happening in that regard. But let's move over from southern Nigeria to western Nigeria.
All right, and now we start on the Daily Trust this morning in Nigeria. It says here, federal government under pressure to probe herders' killings in Nasarawa. It says Macban says it's a war crime, blames Autumn. NBA, NHRC seek compensation for victims' families, I beg your pardon. My hands are clean, says the Benue governor. And also ACF, NCM rather, demand investigation. 20 killed in Lagos, Ondo road crashes. Of course, I think we may have some time to share a little bit about the very, very sad incident of a container, that fell on top of a commercial vehicle in Lagos at the Ojuelegba Bridge over the weekend. A report saying 9 people lost their lives in that very sad incident. But, it makes it worse because it's not the first time, and this has happened almost every quarter.
And there's something about that Ojuelegba Bridge. I don't even understand. It's either trailer is crashing or there's a fire or something. There's something about that bridge.
Someone tweeted, that it might be a quarterly thing or a yearly thing, to some deity. I mean, just a wild one.
To a deity?
Yeah. These lives are sacrificed to the Ojuelegba deity or whatever it is.
Well,
that's a far reach. But yes, it happens too often to just ignore. There's also people who say that the structure, there's a structural defect with the bridge, and that's one of the reasons behind those incidents. But the questions that everyone will continue to ask is, we've seen these things. It happened last year, maybe more than once or twice. It's happened almost every year for the last 10 years. Actually, every year for the last 10 years.
Why are these trailers plying Lagos roads in the daytime? Why are they plying these roads in the daytime, knowing that the mode of movement in Lagos is complicated? There's usually traffic. You have these containers that have heaps. I mean, there was a day I was driving and there was a car in front of me, a mini trailer of some sort, that had bamboo sticks loaded on it. And guess what? It wasn't tied together.
Yeah.
So any small bump And the bamboo sticks would have fallen on me. All I quickly did was found a way to overtake it and make sure that I was far away from it. But we have these things happening over and over again. There are no penalties.
Yeah, so I think that's the very first thing. The Lagos State government has every now and then made these new laws, about banning trailers from moving at this time or the other. There have been times where they've also set these barriers on the road, so trailers can pass it. But if there's no proper enforcement, you continue to see these things happen. If also you see VIO officials on the road and they are not looking out for these trailers, ensuring that the containers are properly strapped and all of that, it's a failure of enforcing the laws, the traffic laws in Nigeria, and also generally a failure of the government to value the Nigerian life, well enough. Of course, nobody will be probed. All right, after controversy, Buhari visits Kano to commission aid projects. Just a few others. Get us 2 bikes, foodstuff. Kidnappers of Kaduna villagers tell relatives. And also mixed reactions. The CBN extends Naira deadline to February 17th. All right, these are the stories that we can share this time.
All right, still on the front page of the Nation newspaper in Nigeria, we're looking at the stories here. It says Naira swap row deepens. 2 kids among 9 killed as container falls on commercial bus in Lagos. This is a story we just took a few minutes ago. But Abiamila wants container trucks barred from Ojuelegba Bridge. And it's not just Ojuelegba Bridge. They should be barred from moving in Lagos in the daytime. Simple. Adeleke put University of Ilesha on hold. 5 Cameroonians held for kidnapping on page 6. APC accuses PDP of planning campaign of calumny against its candidate. Buhari unmoved by PDP's abuses, says Tinubu. Ajaero set to replace Waba as NLC president. Of course, these 2 names are like leaders in the different factions of the Labour Congress in Nigeria. Pensions funds rise to 15 trillion naira. Investment return is 13%. 11 burnt to death in Ondo road accident. That's a sad one there. 3 policemen killed at checkpoint, another sad one, and another sad one to wrap up the newspaper review. Petrol now 550 in cities. Scarcity bites harder and may linger. How much are you buying petrol in your area? The filling stations and the black market, what is the rate in your area? Let us know. We will maybe be conducting a poll on Twitter to find out what the average cost of petrol around your area is and the accessibility. We're hoping that the National Assembly will take this even more seriously than they're taking the Naira swap deadline, because this poses a huge level of discomfort. It's affecting lives and it's affecting businesses in Nigeria. But